My parents didn't come to my wedding because I got married before their favorite daughter, and now, 8 months later, their perfect family image is finally falling apart in the most satisfying way possible. I'm 32. My younger sister Nina is 30. We've been at opposite ends of the family hierarchy our entire lives, and when I say hierarchy, I mean it literally. There was never any question about who mattered more. Nina was the golden child. The one who won every spelling bee, every science fair, every single award handed out at school. Class president, valedictorian, prom queen, the whole package. She's tall, thin, gorgeous. She modeled in college while getting her business degree, and my parents threw an actual party when she booked her first professional gig. They framed her headshot and hung it above the fireplace. It's still there, right in the center of the living room, like a shrine. That same year, I graduated with my computer science degree. My parents said, "Well done," and went right back to planning Nina's next photo shoot. Therefore, I learned pretty early that nothing I did would ever measure up. Nina climbed the corporate ladder fast after graduation. She's a senior executive now with a corner office and a company car. Meanwhile, I'm a mid-level software developer. I like my job. It's stable, it's respectable, I'm good at it. But it's not the kind of career that makes parents brag at family dinners. I'm also shorter and bigger than Nina. My mom made sure I never forgot that. She put me on diets, signed me up for workout classes I didn't want, made comments about how Nina never struggled with her weight, how I could look as nice as my sister if I just tried harder. By high school, I'd learned to tune it out. But the damage was already done. I spent years trying to win their approval. I took the classes they suggested, joined the clubs they pushed, even tried modeling once. A spectacular failure that Nina still brings up whenever she wants to embarrass me. Nothing worked. I was just the second daughter, and they were completely obsessed with Nina's success. So in my mid-20s, I stopped trying. I focused on building my own life, advancing my career on my terms, forming relationships with people who actually valued me. And, honestly, things got better after that. Therefore, I kept my interactions with my parents shallow and surface level. I showed up for mandatory Christmas dinners and family gatherings, smiled and nodded while they gushed about Nina's latest promotion or vacation or boyfriend. They didn't notice my emotional distance. They were too busy worshiping Nina to care. Then I met my husband at a tech conference 4 years ago. He saw me. Actually saw me. He loved my sense of humor, my coding skills, my body exactly as it is. He never once suggested I should change or compared me to anyone else. After 4 years together, he proposed while we were at home eating takeout and watching our favorite show. It was perfect. Naturally, I told my parents I was engaged. Their reaction should have been my first warning. No congratulations. Just silence. Then my mom asked if I was sure I wanted to jump right in and suggested I might want to get in shape before the wedding. My dad barely said anything. During the engagement party, my husband noticed something strange. My parents spent most of the evening huddled in a corner on my mom's phone. He overheard them talking to Nina, who was apparently crying. They kept saying this wasn't the plan and we never expected Rebecca to get married first. Rebecca. That's what they call me. That's the name I'm changing here because I want you to understand something. In their eyes, I was never supposed to have this moment before Nina. Therefore, the wedding planning process was a nightmare. My mom had already created multiple Pinterest boards for Nina's future wedding, even though Nina wasn't even engaged. She had zero interest in helping me pick a dress or venue. When I found my dress, a simple, beautiful A-line gown that made me feel amazing, my mom just said it was practical and suitable for my figure. My future mother-in-law ended up helping me with most of the planning. She treated me like the daughter she never had. We picked flowers together, arranged seating charts, planned the whole thing. She threw me a beautiful bridal shower. My own family didn't show up. I sent wedding invitations to everyone, including my parents. Both electronic and physical invitations. The electronic ones had red receipts. I know they got them, but they never RSVP'd. I called, texted, emailed. They either ignored me or sent vague responses about being busy and needing to check their schedules. I was too stressed with wedding prep to chase them down. I had to let it go. The wedding day itself was beautiful. Garden ceremony, laid-back afternoon reception. Everyone said we looked so happy and in love. And we were. But there were moments when their absence felt like a physical wound, seeing those empty front row seats, skipping the father-daughter dance. After the honeymoon, I finally reached my parents on the phone to ask what happened. My mom launched into this long speech about how hurt they were that they never got a formal invitation. How careless I was. How she'd always wanted to help plan her daughter's wedding. How she couldn't understand why I would leave them out of such an important occasion. I was confused. I knew I'd sent both types of invitations. I pulled up our records right there on the call and confirmed the delivery. Even the physical invitations had tracking confirmation. Therefore, I realized they were gaslighting me. They were pretending they never got the invitations so they could play the victim. My husband had noticed other signs too. How they seemed surprised instead of happy when we announced our engagement. How they kept finding excuses not to help with wedding planning. He hadn't mentioned it during the planning process because he didn't want to stress me out more. But looking back, the pattern was obvious. The idea of me, the less successful daughter, getting married before their perfect Nina was too much for them. They couldn't handle it. So they just didn't come. Their behavior confirmed what I'd always known deep down but tried to deny. I would never be enough for them. No matter what I did, I would never compete with Nina in their eyes. The saddest part? Even my wedding day, which should have been about love and new beginnings, became another battleground in their endless war to maintain their perfect family image with Nina at the center. Here's where it gets interesting. Nina recently got engaged after dating someone for only a year. My parents are beyond excited. They're already booking high-end venues, taking Nina to private fittings at designer boutiques, giving her all that mother-daughter time I never got. But a lot of our extended family is suddenly refusing to attend Nina's wedding or engagement party. My parents' behavior at my wedding apparently became a topic of family conversation. When relatives ask me why my parents skipped my wedding, I just tell them the truth. They couldn't handle me getting married before their golden child. I'm not embellishing. I'm not trying to win sympathy. I'm just stating facts. Therefore, my parents are furious. They called me a few days ago and accused me of deliberately trying to ruin Nina's wedding. They said relatives are making excuses not to attend any of her wedding events. My cousin told Nina that people are uncomfortable after hearing how my parents treated me. My parents claim I'm spreading lies because I'm jealous of Nina's upcoming lavish wedding. But here's the thing, I'm only telling people the truth. If the truth makes them look bad, maybe they should examine their behavior instead of blaming me for the consequences. 2 weeks ago, I decided to confront them directly. After reading supportive comments online, I felt ready to put everything on the table. The phone call started with them accusing me of jealousy and sabotage. For the first time in my life, I didn't defend myself the usual way. Instead, I said, "You're right. I am jealous. But not of Nina's career or her looks or her achievements. I'm jealous of the unconditional love and support you gave her that you never even tried to give me." Silence on the line. Then my mom started claiming they'd always treated us equally. Something broke inside me. Years of suppressed feelings came flooding out. I told them about every forgotten birthday, every time Nina's success overshadowed my own accomplishments. How my mom canceled my high school graduation dinner because Nina had a modeling callback. How Nina's prom dress cost more than my college textbooks for an entire year. How they spent years planning Nina's imaginary wedding but showed zero interest in my actual one. How it felt to see those empty seats. How my mother-in-law had to help me with everything. My dad tried to interrupt and accuse me of exaggerating. I kept going. Therefore, their response was revealing. Instead of acknowledging anything, they flipped it on me. "Why didn't you speak up if you felt this way?" As if I hadn't tried for years. My mom said, "We always knew you were insecure about Nina's success, but we never thought you'd go so far as to try to ruin her wedding out of spite. This isn't how we raised you." That's when I realized they couldn't even hear me. They thought this whole situation had nothing to do with their behavior. It was all about Nina's wedding. They were more worried about her upcoming event than the pain they'd caused me. For the first time in my life, I didn't backtrack or apologize. I said, "You're right about one thing. You did raise me. You taught me I'd never measure up. That Nina's accomplishments would always matter more. That maintaining your perfect family image was more important than my feelings. But you also accidentally taught me that I deserve better than this." Long pause. My dad finally spoke in a cold, measured tone. "Maybe it's time we stop pretending we're terrible parents since you've already decided we are. You clearly enjoy watching us suffer. We thought you'd help fix the situation since we're family, but it's obvious you've made your choice." Then my mom delivered the final blow. "Maybe you just couldn't handle not being the center of attention. We always tried to treat you fairly. It's not our fault you chose to play the victim." I didn't argue. What would be the point? They'd just proven everything I'd been saying. They couldn't acknowledge their role in any of it. I just said goodbye and hung up. Therefore, I felt relief. I cried, but they weren't the desperate, heartbroken tears from my childhood. They were liberating tears. I'd finally said everything I needed to say without holding back or feeling guilty. Later that evening, my husband found me on our back porch watching the sunset. He sat next to me and held my hand. "They're never going to change, are they?" I asked. "No," he said, squeezing my hand. "But you have. And that's what matters." He's right. The girl who desperately tried to earn her parents' approval is gone. The woman who emerged from that conversation doesn't need their validation anymore. It hurts to accept that my parents will never be the people I need them to be. But it hurts less than continuing to hope they'll change. For the first time, I don't care what happens with Nina's wedding or the family drama. I've had my say. They have to deal with whatever comes next. The strangest part? I feel like a weight I've carried my entire life has finally lifted. It's not the happy ending I wanted with my parents. But maybe it was the ending I needed. The freedom to stop fighting for love that should have been automatic. 3 days after that confrontation, Nina decided to get involved. She sent me a long, carefully worded message dripping with condescension. What you said to Mom and Dad was completely inappropriate. They've supported us our whole lives. You can't just call them bad parents because you're insecure about your choices. She continued with her signature blend of superiority and subtle digs. "I know your wedding wasn't what you hoped for, but that doesn't mean you should try to destroy mine. Not everything has to be a competition, Rebecca. There's nothing wrong with wanting a celebration that honors those of us who've worked hard to achieve certain standards." I didn't respond. I've learned that engaging with Nina just gives her more ammunition. After years of dealing with her manipulative behavior, I just blocked her number. But Nina's never been good with being ignored. A few hours later, my husband called me at work, laughing so hard he could barely speak. Nina had found his personal number, probably through a mutual connection, and sent him a string of texts explaining exactly why our sister relationship has always been problematic. Her first message to him started professionally enough. "As Rebecca's sister and someone who cares about our family's well-being, I feel obligated to reach out." Therefore, it quickly revealed her true intentions. She told my husband that as the new man in Rebecca's life, he had a responsibility to help me behave more appropriately. The messages got increasingly patronizing. She explained to my husband, a professional software architect with an MBA, that family dynamics are complicated and that someone with Rebecca's sensitivity might not grasp the bigger picture. She suggested he help me see reason before I irreparably damaged family relationships. The real kicker was her attempt to appeal to what she assumed were his social climbing ambitions. "Surely you understand that maintaining good relationships with successful family members like myself could benefit your future. Rebecca's behavior is only hurting her prospects and by extension yours." My husband, who has always seen through Nina's facade, thought her manipulation attempt was hilarious. He especially enjoyed her assumption that her corporate position or networking opportunities would somehow impress him. When I got home that night, we read through the messages together. Instead of feeling hurt or insulted, I was laughing with my husband. Seeing Nina's manipulative tactics exposed, especially when directed at someone completely immune to them, felt liberating. Therefore, I learned something crucial about my sister. Despite all her achievements and success, she's still that insecure teenager who needs to tear others down to feel superior. The fact that she thought she could control me by manipulating my husband shows how little she understands real relationships. When her direct approach failed, she quickly pivoted to using my husband against me. It's the same strategy she used in high school. When she couldn't bully me directly, she'd try to turn my friends against me. Different decade, same playbook. With this fresh perspective, I now see how Nina's behavior went beyond simple sibling rivalry. Throughout our lives, she actively worked to maintain her status as the favorite child. Whenever I accomplished something, she had to overshadow it. She had to point out my flaws to everyone I befriended. My response to her games is different now. 10 years ago, her messages would have sent me spiraling into self-doubt. 5 years ago, I would have been hurt and angry. Today, I'm just tired of the drama and find her obvious manipulation attempts almost funny. My husband's response was perfect. Instead of engaging with her drama, he simply wrote, "Thank you for your concern about Rebecca's well-being. As her husband, I'm focused on supporting her happiness, not managing her behavior. I think it's best if you direct any future concerns to Rebecca directly. Have a nice day." Nina sent one final message. "I see she's poisoned you against the family too. Don't say I didn't try to help when this all blows up in your faces." Ironically, Nina's attempt to help only strengthened my resolve to maintain distance from my family's toxic dynamics. Her messages to my husband proved that nothing has changed. She's still the same manipulative person who needs to control every narrative, who sees any deviation from her perfect family script as a threat. The most satisfying part? Her manipulation attempt completely failed. Instead of driving us apart, she brought my husband and me closer together. We spent the evening joking about her texts and planning a weekend getaway, completely unbothered by her warnings about social consequences. I've realized that real family isn't about maintaining facades or controlling narratives. It's about standing together, laughing together, supporting each other when someone, even your own sister, tries to manipulate you. I'm more certain than ever that I'm better off keeping my distance from Nina's wedding drama. Instead of getting sucked into my family's endless power struggles, my husband and I have decided to focus on building our own happiness. They say success is the best revenge. But I'm learning that real success isn't about impressing anyone. It's about embracing your choices and surrounding yourself with people who lift you up instead of holding you back. By that metric, I feel more successful than ever. 2 weeks after Nina's failed manipulation attempt, things took unexpected turns. The situation is getting worse despite my parents' desperate attempts to salvage their reputation. I learned through family connections that my parents have been on a frantic campaign to control the narrative. They've been calling each relative individually, claiming I'm spreading vicious lies because I'm jealous of Nina's perfect wedding. They say I'm just bitter because her wedding will be far more sophisticated and beautiful than mine. Therefore, their latest story is that I deliberately left them off my wedding invitation so I could play the victim later. It's absurd. They still live in the same house they've owned for 30 years. Same email addresses they've had since email was invented. But they're claiming I sent their invitation to old addresses. The good news? Their damage control is failing spectacularly. Our family members aren't buying it. Several relatives have actually shared their own stories of my parents' history of favoritism. One aunt revealed that my mom pulled similar stunts at other family weddings, always trying to ensure Nina was the center of attention. The most gratifying development is how my extended family has responded to my parents' manipulation. Major family members, some who were supposed to have significant roles in Nina's wedding, have withdrawn their support. They might lose access to the exclusive venue they secured through family connections. Even a family friend's designer dress shop has suddenly experienced scheduling conflicts. Things reached a breaking point at a family gathering last weekend. Someone innocently asked to see my wedding photos, and apparently my mom had a meltdown. She launched into a defensive rant about how I'd changed since getting married and was trying to destroy the family. Her tantrum backfired. It shocked several relatives who'd been unaware of the full situation and further damaged their carefully maintained reputation. The irony is perfect. My parents' frantic attempts to preserve their ideal family facade are exactly what's making it crumble. Every time they try to explain their absence from my wedding, they reveal more about their true character. The harder they work to paint me as the villain, the clearer their deception becomes to everyone else. Therefore, family members are choosing sides. Even my dad's brother, who always stayed silent to keep the peace, recently apologized for not speaking up sooner about how they treated me. He and his family have decided not to attend any of Nina's wedding events. I haven't had to defend myself explicitly. The truth is handling everything for me. Every time Nina and my parents try to twist the story, they end up exposing more of their destructive behavior. My husband said it best. They built an image of the perfect family over decades, but it was based on emotional manipulation and favoritism. Eventually, it was always going to collapse. I'm thriving personally. I no longer carry the burden of trying to earn my parents' approval. The stress of managing Nina's emotions has disappeared. I'm not worried about maintaining their perfect family image. For the first time in my life, I'm free from all of it. Sometimes the best revenge isn't taking action at all. It's just letting the truth speak for itself. I'm grateful for the support I found online from strangers who showed me what real family support looks like. You gave me the courage to stand up for myself, to stop protecting people who never protected me, to understand that speaking your truth isn't the same as seeking revenge. The facade my parents built was always fragile. It only stood as long as everyone agreed to pretend. The moment I stopped pretending, the whole thing started to crack. And now, with each desperate attempt to repair it, they're just making the cracks wider. Turns out, the best way to protect a lie is silence, and the fastest way to destroy one is just to stop being quiet.